Hey, quick reminder, check out that coupon code down below to save you hundreds of dollars on the amazing courses where you learn my perspectives on stocks, real estate investing, and building your wealth. I go live every day the market is open with course members to help you answer your questions. And that comes included with all of the courses. We'll see you there. Use that coupon down below. Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Let's talk about SPACs. Specifically today, we are going to talk about the rumored merger between CCIV and Lucid Motors. Some are calling this the Tesla killer. And after all, this is another SPAC, and what do we know about SPACs? Well, we know that many SPACs skyrocket, only to have a glorious crash at some point thereafter, and then you get a bunch of bag holders as all the traders go from that stock to this stock now, and that stock now. And it's usually never back to the original stock that they hyped up in the first place. Anyway, is Lucid Motors potentially the automotive stock that is going to remain high? Or did it already sell off a little bit? Or is there a reason it's selling off a little bit? Should we buy it? Why are we even talking about Lucid Motors? We should be talking about Tesla and NIO and Xpeng. Or should we? Let's talk. All right, folks, in this video, I'm going to break down my thoughts on Lucid and CCIV in 4 chapters. Chapter 1, the CCIV merger. So if you're watching this after the CCIV merger, just go forward to chapter 2, which is where I talk about Lucid's Edge. Then I'm going to talk about Lucid's cars in chapter 3, and then should we invest? I will talk about that in chapter 4. Okay, let's get started with chapter 1, CCIV. One thing that you definitely have to know, though, is to make sure to deposit $100 with Webull to get 4 free stocks worth a minimum $21 and up to $1,600. And of course, deposit $100 with M1 Finance and they will give you $30 for free. Both of those links are down below next to the link for life insurance. All right, let's begin. On CCIV. So, Ed Ludlow, he's an author over at Bloomberg, and on January 11th, he reported a leak that Lucid Motors was planning to merge with the blank check company under ticker symbol CCIV. Since then, the stock has shot up about 36% from around $13 on the 11th to around $18. And yeah, the stock did go from about $10 to $13 just a couple days before this leak, which kind of makes you scratch your head and wonder, is it really us that stand a chance at getting rich on Wall Street? Or is it the people on Wall Street that are using us to get rich themselves? Anyway, Ed, he is a dude that seems knowledgeable with Lucid, and some people see this as credibility to the fact that yes, CCIV and Lucid are going to merge. He's interviewed Lucid board members in the past, he's visited the Lucid plants in the past, well, the one plant that they have, and in September he talked about Lucid getting into energy storage, which is sort of potentially another stab at Tesla, with prototype energy storage systems that'll be installed on their new Arizona factory. Their factory, by the way, this is something else to consider about Lucid. Their factory, it was done fast. Their factory began construction in December of 2019, and it completed construction on their factory to produce their Lucid vehicles in just 11 months. By November 2020, the plant was operational, and right now they're using the plant to produce test vehicles, and hopefully soon they're going to actually manufacture their production vehicles that they plan to sell. The plant was built so quickly in part because of a $1 billion investment from Saudi Arabia, from the Saudi Arabian Private Investment Fund, and that actually gave that private investment fund a controlling interest in Lucid. So that means Saudi Arabia's private investment fund has somewhere between a 20 to 30, potentially even more % share of all of the Lucid ownership. Now, as part of this agreement as well, to provide this massive funding to Lucid, Lucid has agreed to build an EV plant in Saudi Arabia as part of this sort of package at some point in the future. Keep in mind, the Saudi Arabian private investment fund also used to have a 5% stake in Tesla, but they sold that stake in 2020. I'm not exactly sure when, though that would be kind of interesting to see, since Tesla has kind of been on a rocket ship. Anyway, speculation has pretty much been going crazy around this merger because whether or not Lucid will actually merge with CCIV is the subject of intense speculation. It's so intense that people literally hunted down a plane that they thought was related to CCIV just because this private plane happened to fly It happened to fly from Jersey to Arizona, and this flight path implied a potential connection between Lucid executives in Arizona and Churchill corporate executives in New Jersey because those locations were so close to each other. And so people literally chased this plane down yesterday. They camped outside the airport to try to get telephoto shots. They ended up getting a picture of these individuals leaving the airplane, and everybody in the comment section on Stock Twits is like, well, I guess that's pretty much only a comment section on the website, but anyway, they're all like, wait a minute, that does not look like a group of executives. That looks like a family returning from vacation. But the point is clear. I mean, people even had cars outside this airport ready to follow these potential executives just on the rumor that this Bloomberg author started. And I mean, in some sense, it makes sense because this is going to be one of the largest SPACs in really the last 12 months, valued initially at $1.8 billion. It's currently trading with a market cap of around $4 billion. This is expected only to be second to Bill Ackman's SPAC, which is PSTH. This is Bill Ackman, the dude who went on CNBC telling everybody we need to lock down the country for 30 days and that the market is going to the trash can, basically, while at the same time he was shorting the market. So basically an eligible candidate definitely for market manipulation, but I don't think there's anything illegal with that. So hats off to Bill. Now a lot of people think Bill Ackman is absolutely brilliant and a very shrewd entrepreneur and businessman, and therefore he will be having the largest SPAC. And if you look up ticker symbol PSTH, you will find a company that has absolutely no destination, but is trading for around $28, $29 at the time of this recording. And the goal is simply to find a, quote, mature unicorn. AKA people are buying that SPAC without even knowing what the heck Bill Ackman plans to buy. They're just like, Bill, God, moon. Whatever he touches will go to the moon. Yes, the SPAC scramble, folks, is real. And SPACs can be a great way to get rich quick or lose a lot very, very quickly. So let's understand this, in case you don't yet. A SPAC is a special purpose acquisition company that's basically a blank check company. People plow money into a blank check company like CCIV, and then managers go find a great company with a compelling story that basically allow them to bring that company to market faster than an IPO is possible. But why would somebody leak the CCIV potential merger and not just make an official announcement? Well, some say this is a no-brainer. It creates hype before an announcement, leading to potentially more car reservations for Lucid, a higher share price before the announcement, leading to more interest with the stock as the stock goes mainstream and more people look at the recent excitement relative to what the stock has done performance-wise, and they're like, oh, I got to be part of this FOMO, bye. And yeah, basically stock hopefully goes to the moon and hopefully stays at the moon, though many rocket ships are on their way to the moon only to crash land back down to Earth. And it certainly didn't help that CNBC threw a little bit of cold water on this. CNBC was talking with, David Faber, was talking to Jim Cramer. And David said, as he was looking at the stock price, which has already jumped up quite a bit, he says, this is in no way a done deal yet. And he seemed a little negative about it, which came as a surprise to Jim Cramer, who pitched it on a show a few days before. And Jim Cramer, he said, he was like, really? I felt pretty certain about the deal. Anyway, David could have been reacting to the fact that the stock price has gone up substantially, but either way, let's just keep talking about Lucid for now. The reality is, many people say, you don't have to worry because you either don't have to invest in it or invest in CCIV, and worst case scenario, they end up picking a different company to merge with. But it's just oddly coinkydinky that, you've got Lucid saying they plan to go public by April. This would check that box. They're posting investor relations, stock, and the analytics and SEC reporting jobs on their website. And there's this dude, Andrew Liveris, who sits on the board of CCIV and sits on the board of Lucid, and he's an investor to Saudi Arabia, or he's an advisor to Saudi Arabia's private investment fund. Like literally, all of the dots are aligned that CCIV will become Lucid. But don't kid yourself, you are still putting money on black or red by making a bet here. Now, you might hear some statistics from websites like SPACtrack that say 87% of rumored SPACs end up in actual deals, and that Bloomberg is a pretty reliable source, but keep in mind, Bloomberg has been wrong on a previous Churchill acquisition, and this is another Churchill acquisition, CCIV, Churchill. Anyway, for right now, the rumor is simple. CCIV will merge with Lucid Motors. That's the rumor. We'll see what happens. But for now, let's talk about Lucid. Chapter 2, Lucid's Edge. So, Lucid claims to have a massive competitive edge in the efficiency of their vehicles. Not only are their cars potentially more aerodynamic than Tesla's Model S, but Lucid says, hey, it's important to look at the aerodynamics of a car in actual testing, in like real world testing, rather than in facility testing. This is because Lucid's vehicle actually performed worse than the Model S when they tested it in sort of a lab or building, because the lab required that its vents be closed. And Lucid's like, no, we need those open. Anyway, the CEO of Lucid's like, no. Operate our car out in the open in a real world environment, and our car is way more aerodynamic than a Tesla Model S. So they say. Anyway, the CEO of Lucid, Peter Rawlinson, was a chief engineer over at Tesla back during the 2012 Model S build-out, and he has some new impressive commentary on potential breakthrough EV technology. And I'll give you a bit of a summary here. And it's also just as sort of a note, it's kind of entertaining to just mention that another former Tesla executive promising a breakthrough is now working over at QuantumScape, which that stock went from $13 as a SPAC to $114. Now, it did promptly go back down to $51, though that's still way higher than the $13 where it was, but it's also way lower than the $114 where it was. So I guess it really depends when you bought if you tried to get on the hype train. So you could really see why there might be some solid hype around Peter, especially when he comes out with his additional claims. See, Peter claims and believes that vehicles should operate under a 924 volt system. That is what they are using. Most people hear this, and when they think of voltage, they immediately think charging, but that's actually incorrect. That's not what's exciting here. Now, charging is also exciting, but we'll talk about that momentarily. Instead, Peter believes the 924 volt system that he uses inside the actual components of his car is where the real magic is. See, by increasing the voltage number, you reduce the current, measured by amperage, that the vehicle and battery systems actually need to operate under. The more you do that, the smaller wires you can use, which help reduce impedance or resistance at the internal mechanics of the actual vehicle and the battery. And when you hear resistance and electricity, think heat. Heat is usually energy loss, which is not desired. Unless, of course, you're running an electric heater, then energy loss is exactly what you want because you want the warmth. But in the sake of a vehicle, you generally do not want energy loss. So if this confused you at all, think about this. Why is it that a 12 volt jumper cable, for a car, why is it that they're so freaking thick? It's because they need a lot of power, but they have a very small voltage number. So you need a bigger cable to get the power that you need. The higher the voltage, the smaller cable you need, and potentially the more efficient the vehicle could be. Now, 924 volts, just for comparison, is 77 times more voltage than a standard 12 volt battery. Tesla operates in that 400 volt range, so this is potentially double what Tesla uses. And according to Peter, along with multiple other changes in engineering, this helps make the car at least 15% more efficient than the Tesla Model S. And with an extra 14% efficiency by design, Peter is stoked about the breakthroughs in technology at Lucid. Now, this could all just be hype and marketing. We haven't really seen the company hasn't sold a single car yet. So ultimately, the best test of a product is consumer adoption. So we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, the Lucid Air series, it's a sedan, there are 4 versions of it, does apparently have more room inside the car thanks to smaller and potentially more efficient battery and component designs. They, over at Lucid, claim that their battery design helps them reduce heat, lets them capture more energy with the regenerative braking, all without sacrificing horsepower. After all, the Lucid Dream Edition, for example, has an insane 1080 horsepower. That'll be the first Lucid to launch, of course. They always launch the most expensive one first. But anyway, Lucid also claims that their car can hit a 517-mile range with a battery that's only fractionally larger than the Tesla Model S battery. And according to independent range tests by FEV North America, the 517-mile range for the Lucid Grand Touring is a realistic claim, and that is a neutral third party. Now, the Lucid Grand Touring uses a slightly larger battery than what Tesla uses. Lucid opted for a 113 kilowatt hour battery pack that's slightly larger than the Tesla battery pack, but even though it's only about 15% larger than the Tesla pack, it's deemed to be potentially as much as 30% more efficient because of the design of the car. And Lucid didn't want to go with a really, really big battery pack because the bigger the pack, usually the heavier the car, and that means you need stronger brakes, stronger components, and that gets more expensive and then reduces efficiency. So it's kind of like there's this magic balance between having a nicely sized battery, but one that's not too big to where you start crushing efficiency with weight. Now, keep in mind, NIO just teased a 150 kilowatt hour battery pack coming, which is like half solid state, half not-ish. We don't really know. Maybe it'll come in 2022. Maybe it'll get delayed. Who knows? Whatever. We got to stick to Lucid here, okay? I still like NIO, don't get me wrong. But this will be very interesting to compare to in terms of whether or not NIO will actually be able to swap their 150 kilowatt hour packs in the same form factor as a 75 or 100 kilowatt hour pack, or whether they'll have to go with a completely different system, which could be an issue for NIO, but we'll see. But for now, Lucid, which does not have battery swapping, decided to go with 113 kilowatt hour pack. So just for comparison again, the base model Teslas are usually 75, base model NIOs usually 75 kilowatt hour packs. The bigger batteries are around 100, Lucid's going with 113. Now, Lucid also has something known as a Wunderbox, kind of a German play here on Wonderbox. But anyway, this is a device inside their cars that acts as a bridge between the internal 924 volt system and the exterior charging systems. This device is apparently the reason why Lucid will potentially be able to charge vehicles at rates of 300 miles in 20 minutes, which is absolutely insane. That would definitely cut down on the lines at the Tesla superchargers. But anyway, here's just a little chart where you could see kind of the prices of the different vehicles here. You'll see they even have a vehicle here under $80,000, which again competes a little bit more in that NIO range than that mass market range where you're on that like higher end Camry or maybe Prius range where the Tesla Model 3 might be trying to compete. The maybe a closer comparison would be like the BMW 3 Series or Mercedes C-Class, right? But anyway, this 300 miles in 20 minutes for fast charging here, absolutely insane. And when we hear this, we're usually like, hey, isn't this going to lead to battery degradation pretty quickly? Lucid so far doesn't think so. They've partnered with LG Chem for their current battery tech, which Tesla's also partially partnered with. And Lucid's fast chargers, well, those are currently brought to service by Electrify America, which basically means you don't have to sit around waiting for them to build out a supercharging network because they've already got this supercharging network via partnership. Here it is. This is Electrify America's fast charging network. The fast charging network would offer the 350 kilowatts of charging, which would be capable of doing these 300 miles within 20 minutes. This is obviously a map of those superchargers. Now, this is stronger or potentially a faster charger than Tesla's version 3 superchargers. Tesla's V3 superchargers charge at about 350 kilowatts an hour, where these Electrify America ones are at about 350 an hour. So you get a little bit more charging speed here. Now, Lucid is also trying to be unique here in that, and we'll see if they're going to nail this, but they're also trying to incorporate bidirectional charging, where you could potentially have your vehicle plugged into your house, and then you could potentially not only charge your car, but you could then potentially operate your house off that battery, which with a 113 kilowatt hour pack, if somebody used like 25 kilowatts a day in their house, that could be around 4 days worth of power from their car, in case you're in California and there are crazy winds that knock out power or fires that knock out power, who knows. But not only could you do vehicle to house as sort of this backup battery, but then you could do vehicle to grid, which it might be a way to potentially offset your peak energy draw during hot summer days where you're running the AC or whatever to offset peak electricity usage. Who knows? We'll see how that all ends up working out. Ultimately, it comes down to the utility companies to see how much they want to screw you. But anyway, then they've also got vehicle to vehicle. And by the way, I say that about the utility companies because the utility companies used to pay you really well for running the meter backwards with solar power. And then they cut down how much they're willing to give you when you roll the meter backwards. They're like, no, we can't afford to pay you what we used to pay you. That used to be a big selling feature for solar. It's not really anymore. You get a small benefit, but usually you don't want to roll the meter backwards. Anyway, the big thing that they're also talking about, which I don't know how big this really is, it's not like we're in the business of tow trucks here, but vehicle-to-vehicle charging might also be possible. So I don't know if these are just gimmicks or if these things will end up actually coming to the market, but we will see. These are some of the breakthrough ideas that Lucid talks about. Now, remember, regarding Lucid, there are 4 vehicles that you can buy at Lucid Motors, and obviously they're taking reservations. Now, I am not sponsored. I do not have a Lucid Motors affiliate link down below, although I have to say, when you go to their website, you feel tempted to put in a reservation. I mean, it looks nice. They've really made this a beautiful looking website. You know, the design of the car is futuristic. You know, it's pretty good, I'd say. I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy this design. It's very sedan-like, I should say. You know, it's not like sports car-ish, but it's very sedan-like. You know, if you go to reserve now, you can see the different pricing tiers we've got here. The Air Pure starts at $69,900, which if we just zoom out over here a little bit, you'll see that this one has a projected 400-mile range. And this will be available early next year, they say. And then you can click around here yourself and go up to the $87,000 vehicle, the $131,000, or the $161,000 vehicle. Which, when you get to 161, that's when you see this is actually 503 miles as a projected range. The Grand Touring is the one with the 517-mile range, which it's always useful to compare over to Tesla. We should always compare to Tesla because Tesla is obviously our front runner in everything EV. And if we jump on over to Tesla, right now you see that the long-range Tesla Model S, which sells for about $62,000, well, let's get rid of the savings here, sells for about $69,000, has about that 402-mile range, just like Lucid's base model there. So you're really talking about a Tesla Model S competitor here, not that mainstream mass-market car. But if you go to the Plaid vehicle, which does not exist yet at Tesla, Tesla thinks they're going to be able to beat Lucid with a 520-plus mile range, Lucid advertising, obviously, at their highest, a 517-mile range. So some people wonder, is that where you came up with your mileage estimate, Elon? Is that it? Anyway, Lucid does also suggest that in the future there could be an SUV followed by a pickup truck from Lucid, which would be interesting. And definitely compete with like the Rivian and maybe the Fisker and certainly Tesla as well, the Cybertruck. We'll see. And it's also possible that we could get a $25,000 car in the future. In fact, the CEO says, quote, "What's really exciting about this is the breakthrough in efficiency. It will lead to a $25,000 electric car, and it will come sooner because of the technology we are developing." So, I mean, look, if you like hype, there's no shortage of hype here. Lucid's autonomous systems for its cars are called Dream Drive. It offers what's known as a forward LiDAR standard with 32 sensors, and Lucid says that their cars will be able to, well, be, I guess, level 3 autonomous ready. We don't really know what they're going to provide in terms of autonomy when this vehicle launches, but something that's really important that I keep bringing up on this channel, folks, forward LiDAR. I think forward LiDAR could be the future, and I really think at some point Tesla's going to realize we got to have forward LiDAR. This is why microvision, if you're interested in another roulette gamble, microvision is so fascinating. We do not know which company Lucid is going to partner with. I imagine we would have probably heard some leaks if it was microvision, so probably not. Microvision just gets screwed. That's okay. It's a gamble. But forward LiDAR, huge. NIO's doing it. Xpeng's doing it. And Tesla's the only one really that's not. They're still focusing on radars and even newer millimeter wave radars, but no forward LiDAR yet. Level 3 autonomous, by the way, means the car pretty much drives itself, but you need to be there to override if necessary. Apparently, Lucid's autonomous system will require paying attention, though, which does imply that they're going to potentially go in the direction of the Chevy Cruise, which forces you to maintain eye contact with the road. Otherwise, the auto system or autopilot system yells at you and disables your autopilot. Now, personally, I think that was a mistake at the Chevy Cruise, the constant, like, you gotta look at the road all the time because it's just like, oh, the car's driving, it's but, you know, yeah, is it safer? Of course, you know, especially if you've got to take over. This is why Consumer Reports doesn't rank Tesla as safe with their autonomous driving system, because you can kind of jiggle the wheel while not looking at the road, which It's potentially also an issue, but do keep in mind that the EV audience currently is somewhere around 75% male and often between 25 to 45 years old. So remember your audience when you are considering investing in vehicle companies. But anyway, paying attention to the road does make sense. I am for paying attention. Pay attention when you're driving. Now, when it comes to evaluating the efficiency of electric vehicles, Lucid says the proper way to do so is considering how many miles a car can go per kilowatt hour. Tesla pushes about 4 per kilowatt hour, and Lucid believes that anything under 3 is inefficient. And they do this to basically say, yeah, we're right there with Tesla, but we're going to slam Porsche and their Taycan, which only has about a 2.1 mile range per kilowatt hour in terms of efficiency. Lucid's top model is also pretty dang fast. It's the first electric sedan to go a quarter mile in under 10 seconds, clocking in at 9.9, though it does not beat Tesla's Model S 0 to 60. Tesla's new Model S, the Plaid, has 0 to 60 that is slightly under 2 seconds. We will see exactly what it ends up clocking in at once the production vehicle comes out. Same goes for Lucid. Now, should you invest in this company? Well, keep this in mind. There is huge hype here. Usually, when you get this kind of hype around a stock, you have a ton of short-term traders plowing into a stock only for the hope that they will be able to make a profit 55% of the time and lose money 45% of the time. If you want to join the trader rush, yes, you can invest in CCIV if you are planning to short-term get in, get out. Just be careful. Think XL Fleets, Hyliion, Canoo, QuantumScape, and our favorite SPAC ever, Nikola. All of these literally went to the moon and then came crashing back down. Heck, even NGA, which is something that was just recently hyped up. Jim Cramer hyped them up. It's been hyped up in other places. Even that one is down about 9% today. I'll get the latest here. Yep, okay, 8.66%. I gotta be fair to what's actually going on. Oh, look, C3IE is down. C3AI is down. Switchback Electric's down. QuantumScape's down. All the SPACs are down today. Welcome to, oh yeah, with the exception of course, Gevo, which is up 60% today. Well, 58%. See, Gevo, this is how you go breakout on SPACs, okay? One of the co-founders at Gevo was assigned by Biden onto Biden's science team. So if you want to YOLO the SPACs and hope that somebody gets placed onto Biden's cabinet or on his teams, there you go, 60% in a day. So this is where you really have to ask yourself, and now I'm going to get to my thesis on whether or not I will invest in CCIV. Do you want to be a part of the SPAC mania? It's a great way to lose money unless your timing is really, really good, or you know how to get in before the hype and leave before the hype leaves. Or you end up getting stuck holding the bag, and you'll feel like crap for years until these unprofitable companies actually become profitable. And so the point is, when you're considering buying a SPAC, you are buying an inherently speculative product, one that is fueled by hype in the short term and hope in the long term. But that does not make SPACs bad. SPACs are a great way to get into companies early and get this sort of early stage access to these companies. And they give these companies, access to the capital they need to expand and compete. Look at Shift, for example, the used car seller. This company is so ridiculously unhyped that their valuation is so cheap compared to Carvana and other competitors. They're in the sub $10 range right now for a SPAC. And usually people are like, oh, SPACs can't fall under $10. Don't kid yourself. It depends on how long you hodl. They can fall under $10. Now, it also doesn't help that when you have comments like this on Seeking Alpha that, you should really recoil from. This SPAC will literally be the greatest SPAC in all history of all SPACs. It's going to run like a mammoth, in all caps. Or, got in at $15.45 a share, knowing EV SPAC fundamentals don't matter. This will hit $30, $40 easy prior to merger, so it's easy money. This is the kind of stuff that should not excite you. And it doesn't help that we don't yet have confirmation that Lucid will actually merge with CCIV, which means there is a lot of fear that if that does not happen, the stock will fall right back down to $10 to $13, which means you would take around a 30-40% haircut from where the stock trades now. So, all of these dangers considered, is it worth investing in CCIV? Okay. Hopefully you didn't think I sounded too negative, because the answer is possibly. Consider this. Nikola Motors, which also was a SPAC, skyrocketed to well over $30 billion in market cap at its high points. But even right now, Nikola is sitting at $7.5 billion in market cap. Like, Lucid is a way freaking better company than Nikola. Like, Nikola still hasn't broken ground on their factory. They just have their headquarters where they, set up their props. Anyway, I don't want to sound so nasty about Nikola here, but I think we all share that same feeling about Nikola right now. Anywho, going back to market cap comparisons, CCIV right now is just a little bit over $4 billion in market cap. NIO sits at $88.5 billion. Xpeng sits at $37 billion, and Tesla sits at about $780 to $800 billion. Now, this is where you have to ask yourself, would it not be unreasonable for Lucid to potentially double and match at least Nikola's market cap when this merger is confirmed? Probably. Probably. Now, is it going to soon? We have no idea. Is it potentially going to sell off? Probably, but it's entirely possible. Is it possible that the merger doesn't happen and the thing sells off? Totally. If you believe that the merger is going to happen, though, it is very enticing that Lucid's factory is expecting to start delivering vehicles this summer, probably around June, and that their current capacity is about 30,000 vehicles per year. And they're going to ramp this facility. It's going to take time. They're not going to get to 30,000 this year. But once they ramp, which can take 1 to 2 years, Lucid is going to start expanding as well. And eventually their factory could produce as many as 400,000 vehicles annually at their Lucid site. They will have to expand their compound to be able to do that. Right now they can only get about 30K out. Which, hey, 30K is still pretty good. Remember, NIO delivered 43,700 vehicles in 2020, and the thing's got a market cap of $88 billion. Like, the whole electric vehicle bubble, it's one that I'm a part of. So what's my take? I like Lucid. I don't blame anyone for being interested in the stock. In fact, the stock has a ton of potential. And personally, if you can, like, suck up any potential, like, whoa, volatility in the stock, it might be a stock to place some money in. In fact, I'm going to buy some Lucid CCIV stock. Now, in terms of buying, what I'll probably do is I'll buy some shares. It's a little bit red today, so I like that. I'll buy today. And if the merger gets confirmed and it goes to the moon, I probably won't buy more for the time being. I'll wait for the hype to go away. And if it falls for whatever reason, I won't buy any more. If the merger doesn't happen, and they end up having to pick a different company, well, then I'll be holding the bag for a few months until they end up picking a different company to merge with, and that could be less desirable, more desirable, although I don't know if it could get more hypey than an EV. So anyway, those are your considerations here. It'll also, keep this in mind, we still don't know where the autonomy is coming from Lucid, so you have a real risk factor there as well. Are they going to partner with Mobileye? Are they going to get some NVIDIA chips? Are they going to pick Qualcomm? Where are they going to get their technology from? Right now, it seems like they're going to be pretty far behind Tesla in terms of autonomy, but could NIO be could Lucid be a luxury alternate to Tesla, just like NIO is the luxury alternate to Tesla in China? Maybe. So if you're trying to say that Lucid is the next Tesla, maybe call it the American NIO. And that's my take. And if you like my perspective, check out the courses I have linked down below with the B-Day coupon code. And folks, we'll see you in the very next video.